Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. This is going to be Tom versus Spaniard on Deja Vu, and I really want to lavish on them because where we could have had a yellow versus yellow match, they remembered top versus bottom. So instead, we've got Tom starting as the red Zerg bottom right hand corner, up left hand corner, Spaniard starting as the blue Protoss. Thank you, gentlemen, for remembering the colors. And I guess, I don't know why map makers insist on having the little things out on the map like this, but anyway, we'll point them out too. This is on Deja Vu. It's got the cool, I see this, I honestly think Metroid. Interesting map. Game one, we saw a victory for Tom. Tom has been playing more of a macro-oriented Zerg, where he's played a little bit more defensively. I don't know if that's become the trend on the upper ladder or not. It could be. I know that as far as players out in the field that were doing that already on the head of that trend. Hawk was a guy who did that a lot, particularly against Terran. He's playing a little bit more defensively. By the way, just kind of showing you guys the features where it's kind of, you know, the right-hand quadrant is kind of boxed in, and then once you get out of there, holding midfield becomes a really important aspect. I like the maps this season. I gotta say, like, I feel like the maps are fairly balanced. There's obviously, you've got the crazy one on Death Valley, but I feel like this season, and they're also kind of mirroring the ASL maps. Death Valley, an odd one, but I would say outside of that, even Death Valley I find very interesting as far as like a bizarre map. I mean, it's not like it's insane like Plasma where it's like, what the hell's going on? It's not like a coin flip like Monty Hall. There's actual interesting strategies you can deploy, I think, and as I think we saw the victory already in a ZVP with the Mutalisk play. I'm trying to remember who did that. It might have been Tom, in fact. Forge opening here for Spaniard, going to get second scout. Overlord is going to see the scout incoming. Fortunately for Tom, on the 4-player larger map opted for a 12 hatch. I've seen a lot of Zerg going for overpool. Some of them going for 9-pool, but overpool would have been less beneficial in this regard. Spaniard wandering in, taking a shot from a drone, but not much else. A little bit of nice micro there because it wasn't really, it was kind of on the way to the minerals where he got the shot. Spaniard going for maximum economic. I'm not sure why that wanted to come out of my mouth. Economic. Where did economic even come? It sounds like a drug that they sell over the counter for allergies. Economic. It helps you with your hay fever. Anyway, going for the maximum economic advantage here. Didn't go Nexus before Forge, but got the Forge down. It's going to skip the cannons, has the gateway up, and could even honestly wait on cannons right here, because the spawning pool's just finishing. Did he end up losing his probe? Ended up losing his probe apparently to one of these drones. Maybe got a little bit too close. I didn't see him exit. Can we find the killer? Wonder if the killer actually dropped the I think the killer might have dropped the assimilator, the extractor. So never mind, I found the probe. It just was missing from the mini-map for a half second. It was probably pocketed underneath. But point being, he can stay in here and see just 2 Zerglings. And with just 2 Zerglings, honestly, he could probably skip that first cannon as well. Looks like he's opting to build that cannon instead, so it's one less zealot out a little bit later. But at cross position like this, if you have active scouting, and you can kind of weave the drone in between the natural and the main, you can go zealot first and go ahead and get that blockade. The cannon not necessary, although the cannon is nice for later. We have the simulator morphing in, already a drone transfer. Right now, the worker count just about even. We do have a 3rd base up at the standard location where you would expect the 3rd to be. So it is going to be a potential macro test between these two. And Tom has done very, very well in macro tests where the Protoss opponent has been very aggressive. Zergling, by the way, not able to sneak in, but able to at least check out the fact that that natural expansion is up. Might have gotten far. I don't think he got far enough to check whether that second gas was up, which would have been a nice indicator. Cybernetics core warping in, by the way. The previous matches, Tom was opting to be more macro defensive overall, and his Protoss opponents were doing other things. This time, it looks like Spaniard is setting up to maybe go macro aggressive himself. So we'll see if this pays off. A few additional Zergling. A lot of additional Zergling have been built, maybe because that Zergling was able to creep through the lines. This will certainly be able, and the probe not able to see it. But I think between the 1 cannon, the 2 zealots, barring some sort of catastrophe, I don't think these Zerglings are going to get a lot accomplished here. I think this is built to deal with what has been standard zealot move outs off gateway openers here, which usually you'll have like the four or five Zealots making their way across the map, but instead it's a lot of Zerglings that could have been drones, just checking out the front. See the 3 Zealots. They're just going to sit back. I'm also curious when we're going to start seeing Zerg pushing back. So Terran has been pushing back siege tech for extreme long periods of time. I'm curious when we're going to see Zerg pushing back Zergling speed for as long as possible to get the gas, get the Aspire, etc., additional Mutila Scout. But in the meantime, Spaniard sees absolutely everything. Doesn't have, I guess he doesn't see the drones at the third, but he's basically inside the base, is going to be able to wander around. He sees the Spire, so is going to assume it's 4 hatcheries. We got that initial Corsair being built. Overlord actually sacking itself by making its way in, so wanting to get the early scouting information. We do have that second gas up and a Citadel of Doom being built to the natural expansion, so that's going to be a free Overlord. And honestly, maybe this is an Overlord to save a closer Overlord as well for Tom, because effectively, by having this probe alive, that Corsair didn't necessarily need to wander into this space. By the way, we're transitioning to 5 hatch from here. Probe finally dispatched, but that probe got an immense amount of information for Spaniard and was alive an extremely long period of time. Corsair still hasn't been fielded yet, but really hasn't been needed to. Second extractor getting dropped. I'm expecting to see Evolution Chamber down to support this fairly rapidly as well. There it is. So 5 hatch Hydralisk being fielded, and the Corsair mostly going to check out that third to see whether some cities being set up, I presume, to get the lay of the land. Can get that Overlord kill as well though, but well, never mind, there's Scourge. Ignore me, Scourge right there on the front. Wasn't that delayed. I was about to say, where are the Scourge? There, the Scourge. We do have some Scourge on a cutoff route. That Corsair, I believe, might be able to make it back. Zealots moving out, able to kill some of the Zerglings out in the front. Looks like that Corsair, the Scourge, getting a little bit disrupted by that. But right now, supply counts, Spaniard looking pretty solid. He's got that Templar Archives coming up fairly quickly. +1 weapons going to finish. He's got Zealot leg speed just about finishing. He's not going to be able to, I don't know that he's going to be in a good position to assault any of these bases. There's a decent SimCity, a good amount of Hydralisks, and it's cross position, but at the same time, one problem for Protoss at this stage of the match, by and large, is securing that third. And Spaniard, after seeing game 1, I wonder if he's going to re-trigger, actually moving right back out. The Scourge scouting with those Scourge out of position, Spaniard moving that Corsair forward to go ahead and get a look as well. The Zealots are marching across to inflict some damage, and I actually would prefer to see these Zealots playing a little bit more defensively, and an early third grab instead. Do we see a probe wander? Okay, we do see a probe wandering out to grab the third. One problem I see a lot of times made is like an over-dedication with attacks like this, just throwing the Zealots away. The Zealots are going to be able to get some Hydralisk kills, it looks like, but between the SimCity, the Zerglings, and the Hydras coming from both locations, plus this will force out some additional Hydralisks. But is he going to get any drone kills, or is he just going to end up expending all of these Zealots on the front? That's the next question. Looks like right now he's got an overwhelming amount of Zealots. The Zealots haven't moved up from Tom's natural, so Tom actually caught in the drone cycle right there at the natural expansion. His supply count plummeting. On top of that, he hasn't been able to drone heavily in between, and ended up just absolutely getting obliterated at this third. So Spaniard in a great position here. Has a massive supply lead. A huge amount of workers have been wiped out. He did end up losing a lot of the Zealots, but he's got a gateway flood behind this to replenish it. He's got a Psystorm. He's got a lot of High Templar with, it looks like, at least 3 Storms, which is more than enough to dispatch this amount of Hydralisks. Tom, I guess it was Overlords that were being built in mass there with that last queue. I'm wondering if that was a misclick from Tom, where he was intending to go for Hydras and he accidentally queued up a whole lot of Overlords, and as a result ended up suffering a larger catastrophic loss than he needed to. Dark Templar out in the field as well, by the way, kind of as an X factor. Hydralisks making their way across. This might bait, yeah, this is going to bait out some High Templar. 1 Psystorm down, 2nd Psystorm down. Archon's morphing. That's going to probably be dead Archon. Just slight mistake here from Spaniard, but these Hydralisks should be contained. We also have a Dark Templar on the front, can be able to push the rest of this back. So Tom, feeling a lot of pressure, he's like, okay, I gotta make up some ground here. Let's go ahead and try to push at that third, not getting anything, and honestly just kind of, well, was able to kill 2 High Templar, so that's something, but kind of donating a lot of troops otherwise. And Spaniard has another large army out in the field, and also some free Hydralisks dying to the Dark Templar on forward field. Although Spaniard not doing the best job controlling his army and kind of sending in the Zealots piecemeal. Ooh, Side-storming his own Dark Templar a little bit. Don't Side-storm the hero out here. Has already gotten 5 kills and held the front. Second Dark Templar rejoining. In the meantime, a decent recovery from Tom. He's managed to get up to 46. But let's see if he has enough to defend this natural expansion. Well, it looks like he does. This isn't a huge Zealot count. Spaniard still with a decent unit lead. He's got some more Zealots marching their way across. Unusually, no Dragoons, and I don't think he's got an observatory in the midst of this. There are 3 lurkers morphing someplace. Looks like they're right here on the front. This might be a little bit too late. And Spaniard shoving, barely misses it. Side-storms the second and gets enough of a hit. Unfortunately, was looking to cast and lost that additional High Templar. Now able to kill that additional lurker, but expending troops that he doesn't need to. Still getting some decent kills in the midst of this, and that's going to keep Tom on notice. Some Scourger up, I think, to pick off an Observer that's not there right this second. More Scourge making the way out on the field. Where did that Zealot come from? I heard additional... Okay, it looks like the Archon actually completes. Unbelievable. And so it's going to get some additional kills on the front. I think this is just going to be a bit of an annoyance. The Scourge checking out that 1 o'clock location to make sure a 4th hasn't gone up. But this is still 3 bays versus 3. And a decent worker lead for Spaniard. I'm wondering, okay, it looks like the Lurker dealt with some Zealots there at the 3 o'clock location in the midst of this. Solid supply count. +1 weapons, +1 armor. A decent... so that +1 armor is going to give a slight lead. We have Tom trying to expand bottom left. And he's just hoping, I think, that Spaniard doesn't scout that. The Scourger will be able to see the probe making its way to the 1 o'clock location, and it'll see that 4th base going up, but it's not going to be able to stop that 4th base from going up. It's not a Zergling where it's going to be able to pick off this probe. And Spaniard seeing those Scourge in the air, it looks like he is going to redirect to that location. Let's see if Tom takes the bait as well. And also, this might be an indication from Tom. He knows he's got some economic work to do. He sees Spaniard going to seal up that 4th base. So what he could potentially do is grab the natural expansion bottom left and try to macro and try to swing a quick macro play, and then just hope while Spaniard's sealing up this 4th and expecting some sort of attack, that he can get a decent macro push as well. In the meantime, though, Spaniard has a shuttle with a High Templar. I'm not seeing a lot of Scourge. There's a lot of vision out here for Tom, but not a lot of Scourge out in the field. This is going to be a slow shuttle, though. And as a result, without a lot of places to go underneath vision, you might get lucky here. Kind of going mid-map. He is going to get... Whoa, okay, just got the edge of it. Does Tom see it, though? Does he bite down on it? He's got 2 Scourge to the north. So the High Templar are going to be able to get to the 6 o'clock. It looks like the target is probably going to be the natural. I don't know that that was spotted by Tom. In the meantime, Spaniard making his way out on the map. We have bottom left some lurkers being built in place. The Overlord now pinning to that shuttle. Shuttle's making its way to the left. That could provide some scouting information. Huge lurker field here for Tom. Some High Templar running, getting... I don't know what was going on with them, but that was a huge loss for Spaniard. Out of position. Sees the upper left. Some... Actually, there's nothing to storm here, and the Hydralisks moving forward, honestly providing a target. And I think they realized, like, oh, we actually do not want to be here. Spaniard moving up to go ahead and clear out this top left. So unfortunately, these lurkers here really would have been better served. Yeah, more defending out to the left, but I think Tom was concerned he wasn't going to be able to hold all this territory. Now going for a counterattack with a lot of the Hydralisks towards the 1 o'clock. A lot of cannons there, but not a lot of side storms, so this could turn into a base trade. At which point we'll be back to 3 bases to 3. So yeah, Hydralisks making the way. Are the reinforcements going to make there in time? And also, it looks like there was the energy upgrade, so there could be some side storms to follow this up. But if those Hydralisks hurry up, ignore the cannons to the left, and just focus that Nexus down, this could be a dead Nexus. Two Dragoons making the way in. Unfortunately, Tom getting drawn to the cannons to the left right this second, and that should be a save. Whiff of a side storm, however. No workers actually getting taken out as well. And the Dragoons should be able to clear out what's left. +2 weapons, by the way, on these Hydralisks right this second. We do have +2 armor for the Dragoons as well. And Spaniard moving up to mid-map, he's going to be able to catch a lot of lurkers that were trying to shift up that direction. Out of burrow. More Sidestorm dropped. A little bit of a whiff right there, and honestly, more on the army of Spaniard right this second, but Spaniard still in an excellent position. He's got double the supply. There was a beautiful side storm to follow it up. So he's able to deny the bottom left. He was able to repel the attack at the 1 o'clock. And Tom, he's got 50 workers, but he hasn't been able to shut down the third base. And Spaniard could potentially start making his way to top right if he wanted to, or he could just start knocking down whatever bases he wants at this stage. Tom wanting to be the aggressor rather than try to open things up for himself. However, that's going to expose his army at the 9 o'clock. Spaniard finding it and going to engage across here. Zealots getting a good amount of Hydralisk kills. Tom reacting a little bit late to draw them out. We have another Nexus drop bottom left. Interesting here from Spaniard, rather than expanding top right towards his additional bases, actually expanding bottom left and cutting off territory that Tom was hoping to take for himself earlier in this match. Overlord spots it. We do have a single Hydralisk there to the north. That's not going to provide a lot though. And also dropping a pylon top right. And I wonder if and we have a shuttle loaded up as well. Wonder if this is just going to be cannons to create. Cannons up on the high ground like this can just be annoying, but I think this is going to be a dead pylon and a dead worker momentarily. We have a drop. A lurker is there. Double storm, wiping out everything. So 38 left. Spaniard checking out additional bases. There was a drone that was looking to grab the 6 o'clock. It's going to be waved off. A hatchery trying to get built top right. That is very ambitious. And now a bunch of Hydralisks are up here, and this could be a problem now for Tom because he's got a bunch of Hydralisks on site. But honestly, it's almost like one of those pinning maneuvers where there's an 80 supply lead for Spaniard. Although I guess 50 of it is in workers. Spaniard's overbuilt some probes right this second, and he's still only running on a handful. He's running on three bases still. Hasn't managed to saturate bottom left. We're making his way down there. And as I say that, Tom, rather than waiting, Tom being the aggressor once again. Great side storms for Spaniard cleaning up the Zerglings, however. Random lurker midfield going to get wiped out. But it looks like the probes are going to make their way bottom left. Now this is what the problem I was wanting to describe earlier. Much like in chess where your king causes a pin situation, we got this hatchery that is effectively acting like a pin for a lot of the defensive units for Tom. It looks like he's willing to sack that to maybe attack bottom left. Spaniard is going to take the bait, and rather than splitting off troops and attacking top right, is going to make his way bottom left. The probes are actually pulling off the line, and believe it or not, this actually might help Spaniard because he has, again, too many probes that he needs to actually deal with. In the meantime, it looks like, yeah, thinking better of trying to defend that bottom left-hand base, is looking to attack top right. One thing for Zerg is because of the way the minerals work, because you just usually stack a single drone on site, you don't have as many, and it looks like some Scourge looking for that shuttle. By the way, speaking of shuttle, another side storm drop here at the 3 o'clock, able to get some more workers once again. But the unit's starting to breach their way forward. Tom is not going to be able to hold this. This is going to be another dead base. More side storm on top of the drones. So that hatchery going to die top right, and now it's basically all that's left is you can see just as far as the mineral stack. Spaniard in a commanding position, again, still is double the supply of Tom. And honestly could end the game right here if he just is able to mount an attack. I got to give some kudos to Tom, where by kind of consistently having these small attacks out in the field, he's prevented Spaniard from taking out a lot more territory. We do have Dark Swarm to try to negate the Dragoon damage. I will say the upgrades have been a little bit slow here for Spaniard. But we're up to Hive at the very least, so that's something for Tom. He is working on getting Plague to try to equalize things somewhat. That will help a lot, especially considering the upgrades have not been there. Actually, Tom with some decent upgrade. I think he's got the upgrade lead here. +2 weapons, +1 armor. Although that will evaporate in moments. Scarab damage being upgraded. So interestingly enough, Spaniard playing for a longer term. It looks like he wants to go for a longer term drop robotics on location. I don't know if he realizes how starved Tom is and that he could effectively just kind of do suicide trades right this second. He's got 4,000 banked. Once again, able to deny the 6 o'clock. Looks like there's going to be a counterattack from Tom, top right. That's going to be a dead base between the Adrenal upgrade on the Zerglings as well as the Dark Swarm on site. Spaniard still has his army trapped You can see what it's such a problem on Deja Vu, where once you get across that initial 3, base trying to defend that exterior territory becomes a big task. But Spaniard still has a lot of resources to work with. He can draw a lot of these ults and just start crashing into a lot of these troops, just force a lot of exchanges. And effectively, he will just starve out Tom over the long run. Right now, he's trying to play whack-a-mole, draw a lot of the probes back, shell up. He's got Reavers defending his natural. He only needs 2 Reavers at this location. He really needs to have the Reavers out on the front. Maybe he can get a shuttle to make that happen. But right now, Tom just limping in the resources. He's mined out of his main. His natural expansion, that he's no longer bothering to mine there. So the 3 o'clock base that's been hit multiple times, and he's only got 27 workers to work with as well. Looks like a drone, 2 Hydralisks are pinned in the upper left of the top right quadrant. That's a weird statement to make. Just hoping that Spaniard will be distracted on other locations and he'll be able to sneak an expansion. But otherwise, Tom, he's got a 4,000 mineral deficit to try to work with. And I'm curious, because usually when you get Protoss at this situation where they recognize they're maxed out, where the Zerg is just sitting on 3 bases and has been for a considerable amount of time, what you'll usually see is just kind of suicide attacks at locations, because you can just trade. You can trade freely. As long as you're not just completely getting obliterated with the attacks, you don't need to march out and expand. There's just no way the Zerg can keep... I mean, we got 50 resources here. Some plagues critically landing on the shuttle. Zelt's going to try to... Well, never mind. Zelt's going to back off that Defiler. Tom starting to expand bottom left. Spaniard expanding top right in the midst of this. He's still running off 2 bases. Now Spaniard's starting to gather up. You do need, I guess, observers with this force. But right, yeah, he's playing very, very passively, considering he's at 200 supply late game here. And is concerned... I'm curious where he thinks Tom got additional bases. Because he's done a fantastic job of swatting a lot of the expansions that have just been out on the map. Maybe it's Tom's aggression that's kind of convinced him that there's more happening out in the map. Instead, he's eating a lot of plague, which is kind of weakening his latent forces. The more plague that can land, the more beneficial it will be for Tom in the long run. Because effectively, you'll have mitigated... I'm not sure what do I want to say. You've got troops effectively that are at half. They're fatigued. That's a good way to put it. You got fatigued troops that need to be replenished or restored, and they're instead sitting there. Archons obviously don't count in that. They've only got the 10 health to work with, but the Zelts and the Dragoons, certainly. I like the metaphor of fatigue there. A couple workers. Somewhere I missed some workers getting attacked. Bottom left is now up once again. Dark Templar are going to spot it. It's going to wander all the way in the main. Should be able to stop a drone from building there. Unfortunately for Tom, yeah, he's trying to run that drone out. Fortunately for Tom, he doesn't even have the 300 resources to drop the hatchery. But again, Spaniard just escorting the workers across the map, rather than opting for aggression at any given location. And he sees the side storm drop here. He's got nothing left to storm. I guess there's a handful of drones. We got a Reaver alongside. So we might see a plague on the shuttle. Go ahead and drop it. So Reaver drops first. Starting to work on the sunken colonies. It looks like Spaniard also, while this distraction's happening, moving a lot of troops out. Tom finally going to GG. Recognizing he just doesn't, with everything going up top right, he wasn't going to be able to deal with what Spaniard had on the map, and Spaniard was slowly going to be able to carve. And also that you have that huge army making its way bottom left. So we are now tied at 1-1. We'll move into game 3. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.